Too much coffee. Zooming. Alright. Let's take it easy. Welcome to Skyyjournal Entry 2. Today we're going to compare the US-122mkII with the Apogee Duet in an A/B test, and then I'm going to give a little overview, see if it's still relevant today. We're going to check the software and the build, and then we'll round it up with that A/B test. Okay, so I'm on the Tascam website. I have El Capitan, and I also updated the firmware. Doesn't look like there's a specific Catalina driver, so be wary of that. Nor is there a dedicated Windows 10 driver. ASIO for all your options. There's also a forum post talking about this issue. So in terms of compatibility, this device is kind of the cutoff point is around 2016, where they stopped updating. Beyond that, going further, this device could be obsolete software-wise, unless you're running older OS, which I am, because I got Ableton 9, and once I get to, I think, 10.15, it's live 10 only, and I already paid for the software, so I'm kind of like stuck in the Stone Age. But for anyone who has an old laptop or older OS, I think this is a perfectly reasonable audio interface to hold you down until you decide to get something else. Okay, let's go into the build. So, looking at this, the first thing you'll definitely notice is the shaky knobs. That's the sound of the knobs shaking. They're made out of plastic, but the rest of this device is like really solidly built. There's aluminum, aluminum sides on it. I forgot what the name of this finish is, but it's just really smooth. And there's metal fixtures. The rest of it is plastic. These are the sounds of the switches. You'll notice they're kind of like a hard switch. They also make a sound when you switch it, a signal sound when you switch it live. So I wouldn't recommend changing it live unless you really like that sound and you want to play with it. There's 3 LEDs, MIDI in, MIDI out, and USB. 2 MIDI ports, 1 in out, which is very useful. And it's kind of like a nice little portable all-in-one. Headphone out, 2 line ins, 1 with an adjustable guitar in, and 2 mic ins. And there's phantom power to these mic inputs, which is nice. And the line out is an RCA, which keeps the small form factor. But you'll need adapters more or less likely if you're using the studio monitors or anything with 4-inch. So actually studio monitors use RCA, but aside from that, solid build, really solid build. I've had like Behringers and Edirolls, and I really like this build, and that's one of the reasons I feel like keeping this. Aside from like the knobs, they don't feel great. They feel alright. It almost feels off with the how everything is really nicely built. That's the only thing. Shaky knobs, but overall very solid. Okay, let's go on to A/B testing. The songs I'm using for A/B testing, the first one is I decided to do a song that is recognizable but has a lot of dynamic range, and that song is the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate menu music. And then The second song we're gonna do is Bobby Humphrey's Harlem River Drive, but it's also the 1994 version that only came out on CD, on Passion Flute. And that's a CD I'm planning on sharing because I can't seem to find a copy on YouTube. Check it out, and then we'll reconvene after. Okay, after listening to the Smash A/B test, you can tell that the bass is a little more defined in the Duet. There's kind of like a tunnel effect on the US-12, and you can also tell that there's more dynamics, highs and lows, the difference between highs and lows on the Duet as the US-12, especially with this gain chart up here. Overall though, for the money, I feel like you still get a lot of bang for your buck. Also, shout out to Blue Cat. We're using the Freak Analyst, and I'm using the left and right with peaks to do this frequency analysis. Okay, let's move on to the Bobby Humphrey, and then do one more. Okay. just realized Blue Cat, that's me. Hey. After hearing the A/B test for Harlem River Drive, um, you can kind of hear the differences in the deepness of the sounds, especially with the synths, and how kind of muddled the US-12 makes things. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Like, I got this device like really cheap, and for the money, I'm glad to have it. Um, this this is in comparison with the Duet, which is a $500 audio interface. And honestly, embrace like what equipment you have and where you're at with it, because there's only like a limited time, where you can like appreciate the things you just have before like expanding your studio to um, crazy amounts of gear, and it just makes more sense to use the stuff that you spent the most money on. So, um, basically, if you want like a reference point, I think the transition, especially the synths, to get an idea, the background synths, it kind of helps translate the stereo a lot better, cleaner, um, on the Duet, just to get an idea of what an expensive interface does. But at the price point, the build quality, and everything else that the US-12 offers, I think sound-wise, I think it just does fine for where it's at. It does, like, visually it replicates the sound it's supposed to represent, but audibly, uh, I can hear the difference, the deepness of the differentiation in tones and frequencies. So I don't think that's a bad thing. If anything, that makes it sound more raw, if that's what you're going for. Uh, but overall, sound-wise, I think it fits in just fine. Yeah. All right. That's good for sound. Let's do one more 20 to 20. I'm not going to play the audio, but I'm going to show you both of the comparisons. And so this is the Duet, and this is the US-MkII. And what we're using the Alan Parson studio testing CD, or sound testing CD. Get the exact name. I'm not gonna play it just because it's just unpleasant to hear. But we're gonna look at the charts right here. Yes, I know left and right are flipped, but makes no difference. Kind of makes it more interesting. What was interesting is that the MkII has a later drop-off point in the higher 20s, which you can't really hear, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Meanwhile, the Duet, pretty similar on the waveform. Yeah, it does good in replicating the sound it has. It's just the nuances that you're really paying for when you get the more expensive stuff. Okay, that's our A/B for the 20 to 20. And let's take a look at the noise floor. I know I'm not saying all these right, but here's the Duets. And here is the MkII's Duets. The MkII's noise floor. There's two, and that's the one on top is the peak of the noise floor. This is no signal going through, and you'll notice there's definitely a bigger curve for the noise, but it's in the negative 100 decibel. You're also pretty much paying for less noise to signal ratio. Conclusions. Basically, the US-122mkII by Tascam is a solid performer for the price point. especially if you plan on staying in an older OS. Otherwise, don't get it because if you have a new computer, have a new OS, you may not be able to use it in the near future or right now. Doesn't seem like there's available drivers for Catalina, and Windows 10 might have some issues. You might be able to get away with SIO for all, but in terms of software, it's a very outdated device. In terms of build quality, it's excellent except for the knobs. Um, and and for the sound, you get what you pay for, which is a good deal. The sound is definitely less defined, and there's less dynamic between the frequency. But overall, it does replicate what you put in pretty well. The important thing to note is the preamps on here. This was working at 75% on both channels, while the Duet was at 14 out of 65, which is about 22% of its power. So you really have to drive whatever you're feeding into the US-122mkII. It doesn't have powerful preamps built in. And overall, I'd say after doing A/B testing, I'm probably going to keep this thing for a backup. Having MIDI on hand is handy, especially since the Duet doesn't have any. It's just a nice form factor. It's just everything's in one box. It's cheap, and I'm gonna be in older OS territory for a while. So if you have this in your eBay and this fits what you're going for, I say go for it. If you really want to differentiate, if you're really picky about your sound, I say maybe save up for some better. But for the time being, this is a great starter interface, especially if you have an older laptop and with an older OS. Okay, thanks for checking out Skyyjournal. This is Entry 2. Be back with some more stuff. Peace.